Hello Shell Point, I'm Dan Philgreen. And about this time a year ago, we brought you a series on interesting and out-of-the-way places at Shell Point. A few behind-the-scenes spots that normally don't get seen by anybody on a day-by-day basis. Well, we got a lot of response to that, so we thought we'd give you a chance to see it again. Now, last year, we talked about a few places that were destined to possibly be changed in the future. For example, we're here by the sign wall, out by the entrance, and what a difference a year makes. I mentioned in that piece that this might possibly be the spot where a building would be coming up. At the time a year ago, this was filled with palm trees out here. Well, that possible building is on the way, folks. So some of the things you might see here have changed a little bit. We think you'll enjoy some interesting and out-of-the-way views of Shell Point. Hello, and welcome to our third episode of Interesting Places at Shell Point. This is the Water Edition. All of our spots today involve the many beautiful places on the water around Shell Point, and there is a lot of beautiful water around Shell Point. A couple of spots that aren't at all hard to find are the two tiki huts here along the water on the east side of the island. There's one over by the beach, and this one I'm sitting in is right by the bridge over the Lagoon Canal. And you see these, I'm sure, every time you drive around the island, but have you stopped and sat a while? It's really gorgeous. And there's nothing like the water here, you know? It's one of the best amenities of Shell Point. Now this is the entrance from the river on the east side of the island into the canal that goes all the way around the island. And fishermen come from all over the place and spend time right here when the water's moving, when the tide is going in or out like it is right now. Lots of fish hang out here. It's a great place to catch them. And if you do catch a few, there's a convenient fish cleaning station right here. You can clean up your catch and take it inside and eat it for dinner. I'm standing here on the seawall at the southeast corner of the island, right here by Teledora, Shell Point's first residential building. And this spot is the dolphin spot. Almost every day around lunchtime, you can spot dolphins right in this area. If they're ever going to be anywhere, this is the go-to spot. This gazebo is right by the Sundial building along the canal here at the north end of the marina. This is a great spot to sit in and take in the canal traffic or look at birds. So this spot is right at Harbor Court, and this is the canal that forms the border of the south end of the island, and this is the canal that forms the border of the west side of the island. And this is just a neat spot to see wildlife, to watch any traffic that happens to be in the canal. It's really, really cool, and it's a great walk along here. You can actually walk along the dock here. Be careful not to fall in. But this is just a really great walk. I just love to come out here whenever I can. Not often enough. And then here at the north end of this little walkway, you can see the boats in the marina. See Ed Thompson's beautiful sailboat over here? Gives you a great perspective on it from right here. And this is Shell Point's Canal to Nowhere. You're no doubt aware that all of the homes in Palm Acres are on canals, but when Palm Acres was being built, this was the last canal that didn't quite get finished, and there's no houses along it. It just goes along Shell Point Boulevard and goes nowhere. Palm Acres was meant to be about twice as big as it is, and this canal was going into the part that was never finished. Now we're coming up on a little inlet right here. It's just really close to the south end of the marina, and this cut actually goes out into the openings out in the mangroves. Now, don't ever try this in a power boat. It's maybe a foot, maybe 6 inches deep most of the time. Of course, depends on the tide, but it's very, very shallow. It's only to be done with a kayak or a canoe. But it'll take you right out into some really nice areas out there. You feel like you're at the end of the world, far away from everything. Just a little further south from the marina along the canal is this passage here. Goes through the mangroves. Now this one you can take a powerboat through. Got to be pretty careful, it does get pretty shallow, but this goes all the way out to the river. It's a shortcut. You don't have to go all the way around the north end of the island. You don't have to do the miserable mile. You can go from the marina straight out and hit the river, take a left and head out to sea. Now you do have to be really careful out here that you stay in the channel that goes all the way out. There are several places that go off to the side. This one in, for instance, here, this is these areas that you can get to from that really shallow cut, but this is extremely shallow. It's all maybe a foot or two deep, all up in there. You never want to take a powerboat in there. In fact, it's really good to have a chart plotter or use your map on your cell phone when you go through here to make sure you stay in the path that goes out to the river. Everything off to the sides gets really, really shallow. A couple tips if you do come back here in a powerboat. You don't want to hug the inside of the curves, the turns. There are very shallow shoals on the inside. You want to hug the outside of the banks. And the very shallowest part is right at the mouth of it, right where it goes out into the river. And the area in the river just outside of it is also very, very shallow as well. That's the part you have to be the most careful of. In a kayak, no worries. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our collection of interesting spots at Shell Point. Maybe you've found a few that you hadn't seen before. I hope you'll be able to get out and enjoy them, either from a boat or maybe just from a bench along the seawall.